Disproportionate discipline on Black female students. Racism is defined on multiple levels, meaning it is not always conscious and may be systematic racism or our implicit bias, as defined by Webster's dictionary. Implicit bias is a bias that is presented but not consciously held or recognized. This implicit bias may be seen in the workplace or in the classroom. One major example of implicit bias on a racial scale is the disciplinary acts on Black students versus white students. These disciplinary acts can look like after-school detentions, being pulled from a classroom to see an administrator, in-school suspensions, as well as out-of-school suspensions. Research shows that across the United States, suspension rates of Black students are 2 to 3 times greater than those of other ethnic groups. In another study, it was shown that Black girls were 7 times more likely than white girls to receive 1 or more in-school suspensions. While research presents us with these statistics, it is important to ask ourselves, what are the short-term and what are the long-term effects of taking these students out of the classroom for disciplinary acts? A multitude of recent studies have shown that school discipline that excludes students from his or her typical learning environment is associated with long-term educational outcomes. These long-term educational outcomes are described as compromising academic achievement, lowering the percentage of graduating by 20%, lowered standardized test scores, greater chances of encountering the juvenile justice system, and even school dropouts. The school to prison pipeline is another long-term outcome that has been seen through expulsionary discipline. School to prison pipeline is described as occurring through disproportionate detentions, suspensions, and expulsions that heighten adolescent presence in the juvenile justice system. Research shows that Black girls are at a lesser chance of being disciplined compared to Black boys. However, Black girls make up the fastest suspension rate in comparison to other students, including male and female. Reasoning behind this is usually Black girls are severely punished in school for both minor and subjective offenses. Some examples of this can be inadequate clothing or even their hairstyles. From a social justice standpoint, it is extremely eye-opening, the information that just the statistics hold. Black female students are at a higher likelihood of receiving in-school suspension over white female students when the same act is done. They may be less likely to use their voice and stand up for issues that matter for fear of being inadequately disciplined. As a current advocate for racial inequality and a future school counselor, it is important to make sense of this all, make sense of the disproportionate discipline, and understand my role in it all. I have always seen myself working in a very diverse school district, so the likelihood of me encountering this disciplinary racial gap, I feel, is very large. Understanding my privilege is important in being an advocate for my future students. Through my privilege as a white female and as a future educator, I am able to implement my school bonding approach on my students, as well as help other faculty become aware of their own implicit bias. By helping other faculty become aware of their own implicit bias, I am able to help build rapport between both my colleagues and my students by showing my students that I am here to help them, listening to their voices, and letting them know that their thoughts do matter. The school bonding approach is defined as connecting the youth with their school and various aspects of their academic lives. The benefits of school bonding are long-lasting, but it does help the students feel comfortable in the academic community in the present day, a place where they may feel outcasted based on ethical and racial viewpoints.